It's also been great that I get Tom Brady on a regular basis. He is joining us live now. So I got to start with this, because everything I read on the internet, Tom, is true, and it breaks my heart that we only got to work a year together. You're already leaving, so it's really hard for me. I swear to God, the interweb has you. I don't know where you're going, but you're leaving. Would you address that, please?
It's hard for me too. I thought it was a great run, one solid year. So, there's time for new things, and I figured, this has been totally mastered at this point. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I know it always says sources close to Brady or whatever, but I've had the best time at Fox, and I've loved every time going into the booth and working with such great people, starting with my partner, Kevin, everyone in our crew, Z, Roos, Aaron, Tom, who everyone would probably know a little bit about. But behind the scenes, there's so many incredible people that bring the NFL to life. And to see kind of how it is from a different perspective, I've had so many years, 23 years playing on the field. I've watched so many games from the sideline view. And now I'm sitting up there in the booth and seeing it from a different perspective. And I've loved kind of just the whole process and diving into all these different teams. It's been a lot of growth for me in 1 year, and I really can't wait to see what it looks like in year two and way beyond that too. So I got 9 years left on my deal, and maybe longer. You never know. If Fox wants me, then I want to go. We'll just keep going, because it's been really fun thus far.
I think sources close to Brady are your kids, and my guess is they're not leaking stuff to the internet. So. Okay. So, all right, let's get into the Raider stuff. So they need a coach. Again, there's a lot of talk about who the coach is. They need a general manager. So you were a rookie broadcaster. I mean, you're now a rookie part of an ownership group. Kind of give me, what does this entail?
That's a great point. Being a rookie too, you got to almost go back to what your roots are as a rookie and remember that when you are a rookie, you're trying to learn as much as you can. And when I was a rookie as a quarterback, I really just kind of engulfed myself in the playbook and listened to a lot of the veterans. And this is how you're going to go about it, Tom. This is how you're going to be the best possible player you can be. And then you realize that many years later, 10 years later, I started to actually perform the way that I thought I was capable of performing. So I wish I could have played football my entire life. But that 23 years was long enough. I got tired of really taking the hits, and I wanted to spend, as much time as I could with the kids. So really being involved with the Raiders gives me an opportunity to be involved with football for the rest of my life. And I really love teamwork. I always have. I love seeing other people succeed. I really hope former players get opportunities to be involved with teams. And right now there's a great ownership group. There's other great people involved. I'm one voice. It's so collaborative. But I think this process of learning is so important. So that's kind of where it's at.
So I want to ask you about Ben Johnson. So this is interesting to me. So everybody says, and I think I fall into this, hey, he got an offensive coach. And you think immediately that's great. But you didn't. And in fact, Belichick let you and Josh kind of go behind the curtain, and he let you do your thing, which I love that. That's cool. Like, hey, you're into it, Josh.
But I think that there's such a jigsaw puzzle when you look at a lot of different organizations, and whether they're football organizations or basketball, baseball. I think it's a collective group of people, and you got to figure out that puzzle of what exactly fits. If you do have a defensive head coach, like Bill was a great manager, and Bill did a great job coaching the coaches. And he had high expectations. I think he had background in offense. So he didn't necessarily probably throw all his ideas out there, but he did have a general understanding of how we should perform on offense, and he had expectations for that. Bill was, I thought, one of the greatest special teams coaches ever in the history of the NFL, and obviously the greatest defensive coordinator probably in the history of the NFL. So I think when you look at all the different roles that he played in the organization that I was successful in, he did more than just coach. He was a great kind of added beneficiary or added great benefit to the defensive staff. He was a great listening in his ability to listen to what we were doing offensively. He could provide insight to that. There was a lot of things he added to our club. So this whole puzzle with the offense coach, defensive coach, it should be about great people doing great things, working collaboratively, being humble, learning every year in the same way that you said earlier to me, you're always trying to up your game every year. I feel like that's what I always try to do as a player. And I don't see that's any different in football or in business. Everybody should always be looking to improve and understanding where their weaknesses are, how to improve their weaknesses, and then continue to build on their strengths.
You watched a lot of Caleb Williams. If there was one thing that you want him to improve on that Ben Johnson can zero in on, and you got a lot of snaps, is there one thing you'd say, hey, Caleb, this is the one thing I want you to work on?
I think it's always, I would say this. For any player, and Caleb in particular, he's a young player, there's a lot of room for growth, obviously. It's really up to him to decide where he wants to spend his time and energy to become the player that he wants to be. And I believe that there's 3 parts that make up great players: the physical, the mental, the emotional. We all have deficiencies. None of our perfect players. Maybe the only perfect players I played against was Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Jason Taylor. Those guys were perfect in my opinion, but they had so many things figured out. I, let's say, at one point was physically probably not where I wanted to be. Mentally, emotionally, I was always very good. I had a great understanding of the tactics. I could bring a competitive desire to practice every single day to get the most out of my teammates. Where I needed to prove was physically. How do I become a better pocket passer? How do I improve the footwork in my pocket? How can I become more durable? How can I be a little bit more stronger in the pocket? When those things caught up to what I was doing mentally and emotionally, I became the type of player that I wanted to be. Some guys are really blessed physically, so they don't have to work on necessarily the mental, emotional as much. So I think you always have to have an understanding that if you want to reach your true potential, it's about maximizing all 3 of those things. I went and spoke to the Notre Dame football team before they won the Orange Bowl. I talked about those exact same things. I talk to any player who comes up and talks to me, whether it's other quarterbacks on other teams, whether it's college teams. They're always seeking my advice, and I tell them the same thing. You have to have a self-awareness about who you are, where you want to go, and then work hard at the things where you're deficient in, while still understanding what your strengths are and build on those. But this is a full-time job to be an NFL player. I woke up in the morning, brushing my teeth in the morning, thinking about my throwing mechanics. If I could just get my left shoulder looking in the mirror every day, that's how I thought about it. And I think that's why I was able to have such a productive career over a long period of time.
Jaden Daniels is obviously gifted. He moves well. He's accurate. When you watch him from upstairs, what is the one thing that surprises you about Jaden Daniels as a rookie quarterback?
I think when you deal with most rookie quarterbacks, and I think what I saw in this Detroit game is most defensive coaches now, it's just like, let's put pressure on him. Let's get to the middle of the pocket. Let's send blitzers. He won't see him. He won't have a full understanding of protections or where his great one-on-one matchups are. Jayden looks, and I know this for a fact, he has a tremendous work ethic. Everybody speaks about his ability to work hard. He's in the playbook, after he gets drafted in the offseason. He's trying to understand what the coaches are going to ask him, and then you see how it's reflected in his rookie season, one of the great rookie seasons any quarterback's ever had. And he's got a great connection with his players. He has the physical tools, and he's a very humble kid. How that reflects, and when I watch him play, he has tremendous poise in the pocket. He's calm under the chaos of being an NFL quarterback. They were blitzing him the other night, the Lions were. He's standing in the pocket, waiting until the very last second, a lot like Patrick does in so many ways, and then delivers the ball accurately to his receivers in stride, and they make big plays. So that's, I think, a little bit about what's in store for him as he continues to develop in his future. His poise, confidence in himself. Some players need production to become confident. Some people become confident before they have any production. That's a great trait to have as an athlete. Before you walk on the field, you're confident. You don't need to complete your first 5 passes to become confident. And I think that's what I see in a young Jaden Daniels.
Take out Gronk, and the Patriots weren't known as personality plus. Belichick muted some of that, or players self-muted that, knowing Bill didn't like it. And then there's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's ego and now Barkley, Saquon is very Patriot-like. Jalen Hurts a little bit, but it's a big personality. The coach is barking at fans. How does it work in Philadelphia? Because it's the opposite of your dynasty.
Sure, I think they do things very uniquely, but Howie Roseman's done an incredible job assembling that team. I think he's a guy that lives and breathes football every single day. When you think about being tough, you think about the offensive line and running the football and the defensive line and their ability to stop the run. And you're right, they do have some personalities, but when I look at Jordan Mailata, when I look at Lane Johnson and Dickerson and Jurgens and Mekhi Becton coming in there, the strength of that team is their offensive line and Saquon. And they're just tremendous. That dominating force they have up front is absolutely incredible. And the defensive line has done a tremendous job. Williams has done a great job. Jalen Carter's had a great second season. Sweat's done a great job. They lost Brandon Graham and Huff to injury, and they're still producing at a very high level. So I think that physical toughness permeates the whole team. And then you're right. I think naturally at the skill positions, there always is a little more personality. And I referenced this in one of the games. The receivers certainly, and this has been even when I was a rookie with Terry Glenn, God rest his soul, but he had his own way of trying to get included. And if they're not getting passes all the time, whether that was Randy, who I love more than anyone in this world, they want to feel included in what they're doing. If they're not getting balls and impact in the game, they want to let you know about it. And that's just part of it that comes with the territory. AJ does a little bit of that. Devontae Smith is obviously a great teammate and a very unselfish player, but naturally some of those, I would say, cornerback positions, receiver positions, they have their own way of looking at things, and you just deal with it.
Probably finally here, because we have about 3 minutes left. Mahomes getting a lot of heat. I've been defending the Patriots. I said a couple years ago when they moved off Tyreek Hill, they became the Patriots. They wouldn't be the fireworks show. It was like you guys losing Moss. You're not going to score 50. You're going to have to be more efficient. You have to be smarter. You have to be even better situationally. Randy Moss or Tyreek Hill give you those free touchdowns over the top and those two-play drives. Those are over. I think they manipulate. I think they leverage. I think they're smart. I don't think, all this rig stuff's nonsense. But I will say Mahomes and that out-of-bounds stuff where he stops, I don't love that. I don't love that. What do you make of the late hits and the controversy that the league is protecting Mahomes? What do you make of all of it?
Well, there's an aspect that I don't like about some of these defensive rules. I think I've been pretty outspoken, not just on broadcast, but just in general over the last bunch of years. And before a quarterback's out of bounds, you hit them, and it's the reality for me is offensive players need to protect themselves. And if they're running full speed and the defenders are coming up, the intent is to create. The only way to turn the ball over is to create force.
Right.
You're not going to blow on the football and going to knock its way out of a running back's hands or a quarterback's hands. You got to go in there with force and knock it out. You're trying to create turnovers. You're trying to disrupt the passer. You're trying to dislodge the ball. The only way to do that is with force, and there needs to be an aggressiveness to doing that. When quarterbacks become running backs and they're out of the pocket, they should lose their protection. And we are, in essence, we're trying to protect the quarterbacks, but coaches are calling more quarterback runs than ever in the history of the game. So who's protecting the quarterback? We're trying to say the referees should do it. I believe if you're an offensive player and you can't protect yourself, or you're a defensive player and you can't protect yourself, if you're a D lineman and you're engaged in a block, no one can come and clip you, that's a chop block. That's well known. Everyone agrees with that. If you're defending your own block, they got to get you on the ground somehow. If you're running with the ball, you should protect yourself. If you don't want to get hit, you can go down. You can run out of bounds. But you can't, in essence, have the defensive player come in at half speed and then you run over the defensive player because he's afraid of getting a penalty. And I think it's just a disservice to the game. It's something that I would hope that people would really address and say, not that anyone's trying to take advantage of the rules, but they've just gone to a point where it does impact the quality of the game. I was on my social media and I was watching Ronnie Lott. And who's the greatest safety? Ronnie Lott. Why? Because he brought a force to the game that if you were catching the ball over the middle, he was going to force incomplete passes. And if the quarterbacks made bad reads, that's how the game got taught. Now there's no repercussions for quarterbacks making poor reads, making poor decisions out of the pocket. So I think overall, in my opinion, that needs to be seriously looked at.
All right. And like the professional broadcaster he is, he hands it to me for about 12 seconds left before we go to break. Tom Brady, nice to know you're going to be back at Fox. You got to be careful about the interweb, folks. Not everything, believe it or not, is true. And his sources, I swear to you, are his kids. And that's who everybody's sources should be, my friend. Good seeing you, Tom.
Bye, Colin. We'll talk to you soon, man. Have a great week.